I'm somebody who is terrified of open water in the ocean. And I know there's a special word for it that people have told me before, but I'm too scared to look up what the word is because I don't want to see ocean stuff. It's really bad. If you want to see how bad it is, I have a bunch of videos of me trying to overcome the fear in different ways. And it's not been successful so far. It's been still pretty terrifying to me. But here we go again. This time we're checking out a Wendigoon video. He is so engaging the way he talks, and I'm excited to check out this one. This one's called The Most Terrifying Ocean Mysteries, and I'm already kind of like freaking out. But for those of you guys who are into like SCP stuff, I have an SCP plushie with me from one of the homies in chat. They sent it to my P.O. box. It's SCP-999. Which is a little slime boy, and he's squishy, and I hold him to my chest while I watch scary things. So I feel protected, but I don't know if I feel protected enough. Anyways, link to Wendigoon's original video will be in the description below. Please support the original video. And while you're here, support me too. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to feed the algorithm gods. Also, join us live over on Twitch. I stream every single day. Let's get it. Father Wendigoon! Hello, Father.
Everybody, welcome back to the channel.
Hello.
And happy Halloween. And I'll be honest,
Happy
for Halloween, I
Halloween!
was kind of
Happy
struggling
Halloween!
to come up with what concept I wanted to do a video on. Because, you know, I could talk
Happy Halloween, say it back. Happy Halloween, say it back, commenters.
about like scary movies or demons or whatever, but that's just like me any other day of the year. So I decided for Halloween, why not talk about the one thing that truly deeply terrifies me.
Oh god.
And that is the ocean.
Oh, I'm
See,
glad he's
I
also
suffer
terrified.
from immense thalassophobia, and it's not like a specific fear of sharks or water or swimming or anything like that. It is the infinite depths of the ocean itself.
Oh, you get me! He gets me! He understands! He understands! It's because it's the fear of the unknown about it. It's because it's just, there's so much, it's just, okay. No, he gets it. He actually gets it. No, because like, I am somebody who was Red Cross lifeguard trained, okay? I went through all my training throughout the years. I did it all, okay? I'm a perfectly strong swimmer. I enjoy swimming, all right? I cannot do the, no. No. You know?
There have been countless stories throughout history of the largest grave on Earth taking in people and refusing to give them back. For humans, the majority of our fear revolves around the idea of the fear of the unknown, and the ocean itself has proved to be the one unknowable consequence of this world. There is such a horrific nature to the fact that it just exists that it's almost mesmerizing. And to prove that today, I'm going to tell a few stories of ocean mysteries that not only terrify me, but I think get across the point of why the ocean itself is so mysterious. At least
okay, please explain to people why it's so terrifying, why it's so mysterious, and why it's really messed up, okay? We know less about the ocean than we do about space, okay? That's how little we know about the ocean. It's fucked. It's actually fucked. No shot. Nope.
That's what I'm going to start doing. This may get into a rant of me just talking about krakens and ocean monsters, but we'll see how it goes. And through these stories of ghost ships, sea monsters, and the other unexplainable, I hope that maybe today we can take a look at what is in
He has his own Wendigoon plushie? Does he have a merch store? Can I have one? How do I get Wendigoon plushie? How do? I want Wendigoon. I want a Wendigoon plushie so I can hold it whenever I'm watching iceberg videos because they're really scary. I want one. Limited time? No! Because if I could hold that while I watch Wendigoon videos. Oh. Damn.
my opinion, the scariest thing on Earth. But before we break down all of my deepest, darkest fears, let's talk
sponsor
about
segment.
something even more horrifying. Poor hygiene. And trust me, dudes, I know
Wash
that
your
as a
ass.
dude, we like to be disgusting for some reason. And even though it's Halloween,
Honestly,
I've come again
Manscaped
to
is
tell
goated,
you
though.
about a product
I bought it for
that
my
will make
my
your life
fiance,
way less terrifying,
and it's
that is
awesome.
today's sponsor, Manscaped. I've talked
It's
about
super
it before
great.
on this channel, and I'm gonna do it again because, as always, it is a fantastic product. It takes what would otherwise be this expansive, complicated route of what do I need and what don't I need, and compiles it all into one package for you. And today I've come to tell you about their newest kit that you can get a hold of, the Performance Package.
Oh, I
4
also bought my
Fortnite.
cousin the nose hair trimmer. For Christmas last year, I bought him the nose hair trimmer. Because my cousin's nose hairs were long as a motherfucker, and I saw it, and I was like, ew. And I got him for Christmas.
To start off, the performance package comes with the brand new Lawnmower 4.0, which is not only a sleek and very well working electric razor, but it also works as a handy dandy flashlight. It also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer, because if there's one thing I think we can all agree on, it's that nose and ear hair are gross. Here comes the part where I squirt this into my hand and make a mess everywhere. There is a lot in my hand because I keep messing up this take, but the Crop Moisturizer is a very long-lasting, quick-absorbing moisturizer that keeps you refreshed and energetic all day, as well as the cooling aloe vera and anti-inflammatory.
Is he talking about cream for your balls? Is that what that is? Is that ball cream to keep you cool and refreshed down there? I'm analyzing a lot out of this ad. I'm not even sponsored by Manscaped. Usually I talk a lot about gamer subs because I'm sponsored by gamer subs, but like whenever it comes to like this is just interesting.
Inflammatory toner spray, which you can just give yourself a couple fritz and you are good to go for the day. And with Manscaped's peak hygiene plan, you will be able to get replenishing amounts of all of this straight to your door, hassle-free. And for a limited time, if you get the Performance Package 4.0,
yeah, because I got that for my fiance. So I just didn't know what it was though. I just was like, here's all these things in a package. So
be able to also get this free Manscaped travel bag, which is actually a solid material.
Mine didn't come with the travel bag.
Stuff, as well as the Manscaped
package I got for him,
which once again is high quality and not painful. So I've brought all this to you to say that if you go to the link in the description and use discount code Wendigoon at checkout, you will be able to get everything I mentioned for 20% off and with free shipping.
No, I already got him the ball moisturizer. I just didn't realize what it was. I just didn't really read it. I was like, oh, here's a package. It's on sale.
2 free gifts.
And then I used Honey to like get a discount code.
International shipping. Thank you all so much for watching this ad. Thank you so much to Manscaped for sponsoring the video. It really does mean the most. I hope that you enjoyed. Check them out, and we are back to the video. We are going to go ahead and get into it, but as always, thank you for watching. To start out, if I'm making a video about ocean mysteries, then I'd be amiss if I didn't talk about the most famous ghost ship of all of history, the Mary Celeste. Well, you may be asking, what is a ghost ship? And we're going to find out right now. The Mary Celeste was a ship originally built in the 1860s. And this wasn't a small ship either. It was 103 feet long and 25
feet. I thought the
feet.
most notorious ghost ship is the one that, the what's his name? He was on an episode of SpongeBob. You guys know what I'm talking about? The Flying Dutchman! Thank you! Thank you. Yep. Don't judge me for knowing it because of SpongeBob.
Feet wide. The ship was originally called the Amazon before it was in a wreck and salvaged and reconverted into the Mary Celeste. So if you believe in bad karma and juju, this ship was already off to a bad start. The next year, the ship was bought by a man named Winchester, who hired a captain by the name of Benjamin Spooner Briggs, and no, that was his real name. Captain Briggs was to take the ship on its maiden voyage from New York City to Genoa, Italy. Briggs himself was a seasoned sailor, as you can imagine with a name like that, and handpicked a crew of not only his close friends, but other trained professionals. After stopping in New York, the ship loaded up on 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol. Or in other words, pretty much ethanol. Like, it's still alcohol, but you wouldn't use it to...
That's a weirdly specific number, right? Like the extra one.
Drink. Captain Briggs also brought his wife and young daughter along, which was a thing that I guess people did back then. So between him, his family, and the crew, there was a total of 10 people aboard the Mary Celeste. And on November 5th, they set sail across the Atlantic to Italy. That was the last time that any of the crew was ever seen again.
Oh, they're dead.
8 days after the Mary Celeste set sail, the Di Grazia, which had left from another nearby port, was basically on their track and going to a similar location. It was then on December 4th that the Di Grazia spotted a ship simply floating in the middle of the ocean. This is a weird thing to happen, so the captain of the Di Grazia tried to make contact with the floating ship. Upon coming up to this ship, the captain noticed two really alarming things. For one, the sails seemed to be in a sort of in-between state, as in some of them were furled out and some of them were folded up, kind of implying that it was at a transition period, as well as
Oh.
the much more alarming fact that there was nobody on board, which is probably a bad thing. This ship that had
What the
been
hell?
found completely abandoned was the Mary Celeste. It was found in this state 600 miles off the coast of Gibraltar, which, while closer to Europe than the original starting point for sure, was still basically the middle of open ocean. The captain of the
Okay.
Gratia sent 2 of his men to go search the Mary Celeste, to which this is the site that they came across. Upon getting on deck, they noticed that several aspects of the ship were in a sort of ruffled condition. To start off, several of the ropes were tied to the sides of the ship, and the ropes themselves dangling over in the water, implying that someone had untied something and quickly tossed the rope into the water behind them.
What the fuck is happening on this ship, huh? This is so bizarre. Like, my brain is trying to wrap around it, and I just keep going, what? Every 2 seconds.
Of the covers to the lower parts of the ship were wide open. This is traditionally a bad thing to do, especially in long periods, because if there's any rain or dew, it will get down into the lower parts of the ship, as well as a large device that holds the compass and other measurement devices was cracked on its glass and pushed over out of its place, which normally wouldn't be a big deal, but these are massive pieces of metal, and it's not like someone would just pick up a 300-pound block and set it over for no reason. There was also something known as a sounding rod laying on the deck. A sounding rod is basically a makeshift device that's used to determine water depth within a ship. Or in other words, if you feel that there's water within your ship, you can use a sounding rod to see how bad the situation is, and it was just lying there on the floor of the deck. We'll come back to that one later.
Okay.
Perhaps most notably, one of the lifeboats was missing. Not only that, but the rope that was in the place of where the lifeboat would have been located was not untied, but cut. See, when you're out in the middle of the ocean...
Chat, where's the maturity here, huh? Where's the maturity? Where is it? Clearly not here. All right.
Especially as a sailor, you've only got a limited amount of rope, so you wouldn't cut it unless you were in a really big hurry. Upon further investigation,
Chat hears sounding and they start just
within the cabin,
acting
they
wild.
found the captain's log. Captain Briggs logged everything from the hours, so there was a very intense and descriptive description of everything that happened within the boat up until 8 a.m. on November 25th. Because of this, we can safely assume that whatever happened to the Mary Celeste happened between 8 and 9 a.m. on November 25th. That would mean that this event occurred 9 days before its discovery. And given the coordinates that the captain logged at 8 a.m. on November 25th,
Okay.
that would also place it 400 miles away from wherever this thing happened. And one of the strangest things of this entire mystery is absolutely everything was in its place. Everyone's personal supplies, all of the food rations, and the alcohol barrels were all in their respectable locations as if nothing had happened. The only thing that could not be found was the captain's personal navigation equipment. In the very bottom hold of the ship, there was about 3.5 feet of water. Now you may be thinking that sounds like a really bad thing and the ship is sinking. That's actually a pretty normal amount. See,
Pirates who did not want to steal the rations and food. Pirates who were like, nah, I'm good without that. Just give me the navigation.
back when boats were made of,
I'm kidding, by the way.
wood, they weren't exactly sealed up all the time, and it wasn't uncommon for water to seep in. Also, the deck itself wasn't exactly airtight either, so if there was something like rain, all of that rain would go down into the bottom of the boat. There were pumps in place in order to get water out of the bottom whenever that happened,
Okay.
and the 3.5 feet indicate that the water hadn't been pumped for some time. That's the purpose of the sounding rod I meant earlier, because you could eyeball the water in the bottom of the boat, and it's a very thin line between, we need to pump it and everyone needs to leave right now. The Gratia, which is the ship that found the Mary Celeste, decided to bring it into port in order to get the salvage earnings. See, the way it used to work is if you found salvage or some sunken treasure or something along that line, and you were to bring it into port and sell it back to either a state government or a private ownership or whatever, whoever bought the supplies would pay you a handsome finder's fee for recovering the wreckage. So the captain of the Gratia, seeing a literal empty floating ship full of potential money, decided to bring it into port. However, because he was trying to get money for it, there was a sort of trial held to determine if the ship was gained by moral means.
Oh, because they might think he a trifling hoe. I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget to not speak hood rat. Sometimes it just be coming out too easily. But they do think he'd be a trifling hoe. They're like, oh, did you fuck him up? To get that money? To get that squeeze?
basically confirming that the captain wasn't trying to commit some elaborate form of insurance fraud. Overseeing this trial was a man by the name of Attorney General Flood. And I have to mention this because it's too funny not to. In research for this, there was one historian who said, and I quote, "He was a man whose arrogance and pomposity were inversely proportional to his IQ."
Pomposity. The pomposity of this motherfucker. That's so bars, actual bars.
Pomposity. That is a fantastic word. I'm keeping it. During the course of this trial, they went through a whole slew of different theories of what happened to the crew of the ship. See, the most crucial piece of evidence, and really the only piece of evidence that anyone has, is the fact that one of the lifeboat tethers was cut, implying that with whatever happened, someone had an opportunity to try to get away. Not only that, but it had to be a pretty desperate situation if they cut the ropes in order to get off in what's pretty much the middle of the ocean. One of the initial theories that got tossed around was the idea of a giant storm that came through and wrecked the ship to a point that they thought it was sinking and everyone left. Okay. And remember, there were more lifeboats, so the idea that everyone hopped on one and hurriedly cut it implied that they thought something was happening right away, or the winds of the storm were threatening to capsize the boat. However, an investigator who was sent to look at the ship found several open vials of both ink and oil setting up on tables. Which, as you could imagine, if it was a massive storm that was threatening to sink the boat and the waves were tossing it around, then those vials wouldn't just be sitting there upright.
Yeah, they'd be knocked over.
And also, all of the alcohol barrels and personal belongings would be all over the place if that was the case. But like I said, everything was in perfect order. That Attorney General Flood that I mentioned earlier really had some dumb ideas about this. He was convinced that there was foul play involved in some way, just
the pomposity of this bitch
captain to bring the boat in for insurance fraud, or technically salvage fraud, but pretty much same thing. But this captain is a seasoned captain who's been working for years and makes good money. And Captain Briggs was also a seasoned captain who was making good money doing what he's doing. So it doesn't make sense for them to ruin their whole careers and livelihoods just to make a quick buck. That didn't stop the Attorney General from getting some weird evidence. Like, for example, there was a sheathed sword found underneath Captain Briggs's bed. While which, inspecting the sword, there was something that he said could have been blood. As well as on the deck of the ship, there was other stuff that he said could have been blood. And if it sounds like I'm being vague with those descriptions, that's because he was also being vague with...
That's so shit. Dude, I'd be hella pissed at that. Right? Because hear me out. Is like, so if you aren't keeping up with it, I'll just like small recap TLDR for you guys. Basically they thought that I guess we can call it the judge in this the general in this situation. Thought they were committing like boat fraud, ship fraud, and they thought that both the captains were colluding in order to gain money out of them. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense because they're both established captains and they make decent money already. So what he did was he was so hell-bent on it being the accusation being what it is, and so hell-bent on it being like, oh, this is insurance fraud, that he started to just be very, very vague, being like, oh, this could be blood, oh, this could be blah, 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 oh, this could be that. And it's just like...
those descriptions.
Shit.
His theory was that the crew members got really, really drunk, killed the captain and his family, and then took the one lifeboat and just paddled out to sea. Now, this doesn't make sense for a lot of reasons.
Wait, that doesn't make sense either. What? Never mind. That doesn't make sense. Wait, what? Wait, no, the ending part was weird. What I said at the end was wrong. This is weird. This is
For one of his points of evidence was that whenever those two men I mentioned earlier, the first ones who got on board the Mary Celeste, whenever those two guys went down beneath deck, they said they could smell alcohol, because if you'll remember, the ship was shipping alcohol. However, this Attorney General took that to mean that the guys were drunk. And
Bro, the Attorney General is actually the dumbest motherfucker in the book. There is no way you are this level of stupid.
Totally just ignored the over 1,000 barrels of ethanol that were stored in the ship. Even though there are absolutely no signs of a struggle or a murder or anything of the like. This Attorney General was so adamant about this theory that whenever the owner of the ship, Winchester, came over to Europe in order to, get his ship back, the Attorney General immediately began accusing him of how he would be so evil as to allow such a crew of rapscallions to kill a good captain and his family. To which I imagine Winchester was like, what? And the two got into several heated arguments in court over this before it was eventually decided that no one had any idea what happened to the ship. Also, remember the whole blood on the sword thing and blood on the deck thing? Someone analyzed that and it wasn't blood, it was like rust and dirt. And by the time the trial was over, the Attorney General paid the captain of the DeGradia like a third of what it should have been because the Attorney General was still poopy that, you know, they didn't stab each other and it was like a bloody fight or whatever. But that doesn't answer the question of what happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste. Well, there were several people who still believed the insurance scam story, or the idea that Briggs had put this whole thing together in order to get money off the ship, but again, it was way less than he was making as a captain anyway. And also, that still doesn't change the idea that why would he take not only his crew but his wife and young daughter out to open ocean in order to make a few bucks. Another popular theory at the time was pirates, because pirates were in fact a problem in the 1800s.
I mean, that's what I would have said, but the problem is they left so much shit there. If they didn't leave all that shit there, then I'd be like, oh yeah, pirates. But like, if you leave that much valuable resources as a pirate, you're insane.
However, as I mentioned earlier, there was no signs of a struggle or anything likewise. And also, if it was pirates, it would be weird for pirates to kidnap people, not take anything on the ship, including one of the 1,000 barrels of alcohol, and then never hold any of that crew they kidnapped for ransom. Because, you know, pirates are in it for the money and the gold and all that stuff. So for them to just kidnap people and then seemingly not do anything with them doesn't make a lot of sense.
I'm so sorry. My chat is literally a chat of conspiracy theories. Either L Plunderer or Veggie Tales Pirates. My community is a reflection of myself.
Also, that doesn't explain the lifeboat thing. People are still so questioning over this whole story that there was one theory that...
Oh, Ouroboros had a really good point here, actually. I read the other comments instead of theirs, but let me read this one. This guy is the equivalent of a boss having less experience than the experienced leader, who knows what happened, simply because they don't know common sense. I mean, that happens a lot even in modern day industries, right? There's a lot of people who take manage and business management courses and end up becoming the manager or the boss of other people who, when the other people below them specialize in a certain field. So they'll end up not actually knowing their procedures or how to actually get things done, but they have like knowledge of how to manage. So it's like, because they lack the understanding of what the actual job's credentials or what they're capable of doing, they end up giving bad orders or bad communication skills of understanding what's happening. So even if you have a degree in like how to properly manage, how can you properly manage if you don't understand the limitations or what people's jobs actually are with their specificities? Just saying.
Historian did
it's a pretty
in the
big
20s
issue.
Where he said that perhaps because Captain Briggs was religious, he decided to become a fanatic and murdered everyone, threw them overboard before committing suicide and somehow not leaving any trace of this. I should also mention that historian apologized to the family after he did it because, yeah, that may be a little...
And
that's coming from the guy who's about to say the Kraken did it. Two of the more popular theories was that it was either a water spout or a sea quake.
He's gonna
In other
say
words,
a
like
Kraken
a small
did
tornado
this?
on the ocean or an earthquake, because
Wendigoon?
that may cause enough turbulence and
Wendigoon said it the quacking.
enough water being
snap.
thrown around that the ship may begin to sink. However, if it was something like a water spout that was big enough that it threatened to sink the ship, there would have been, for one, a lot...
I don't have a rocking chair. If you see me rocking back and forth, that's just because I like to rock back and forth sometimes. It's a very soothing motion to me. Don't judge me.
More water in the bottom of the ship, and also everything wouldn't have been as neatly packed as it was. And the same thing can be said about the sea quake. If it was an earthquake that this seasoned captain and his entire seasoned crew thought was at risk of drowning them all, then why was everything in such a perfect condition?
Exactly.
Also, the whole lifeboat thing doesn't make sense for either of those. Like, sure, that may make sense for why they were in such a hurry and everyone piled into one and cut the ropes, but if you're in a tornado and like as a seasoned captain, you're not going to be like, quick, everyone get onto the much smaller boat in the middle of the ocean. Don't get your stuff. There's no time. One theory that
Yeah, exactly, right? You'd have to be a crackhead.
Think holds more weight than most
And
of
you
them
know his ass wasn't drunk, all of the alcohol was still there. So that definitely didn't happen.
is that of the explosion. See, denatured alcohol or ethanol has a problem with producing vapors that have a tendency to blow up. And in the captain's log that I mentioned earlier, he had mentioned throughout the trip that they just heard random explosions coming from beneath the deck, because I guess that's just a thing that happens. So perhaps one day there was a rather large explosion, and that may explain why both of the lower deck doors were open whenever the two men came on board, implying that they were trying to air out the bottom cargo hold. And in 2005, the Channel 5 broadcasting station actually recreated this theory, and it turns out that even if there is a very large vapor explosion and a very large fireball, it wouldn't destroy any of the interior. That was the issue everyone had with the explosion theory, because whenever they walked into the bottom deck, everything was fine.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You could probably tell if it, blew up. But these vapor explosions are just a quick fireball, and there's no lasting damage. However, as I mentioned, the captain had logged in his book that this had been happening over the course of the entire journey. And again, none of these guys were rookies. So I can't imagine a scenario in which
they
a slightly
abandon
bigger one of these fireballs go off and they're all like, we should paddle into open ocean just to be safe.
Yeah,
So
right? You wouldn't abandon if in the journals it says that he was like consistently like experiencing that on the ship. Yeah.
Leads into the mystery of what happened to the Mary
Crack,
Celeste.
crack,
And I think I've been respectful and
kid.
reverent enough of the dead that I can now say it was the Kraken. The Kraken definitely did it. I didn't mention this detail earlier because it was too dumb at the time, but one of the notes that the Attorney General said in his entire case is that the front of the ship there were several scratch marks. These weren't like enough to puncture into the boat or anything, but they were enough to be noticeable. The Attorney General...
Your ghetto ass really said crack and rum. Stop it. You ghetto ass bitch. You know why I'm saying that? Because I used to drink crack and rum when I was in college. Alright? I was a uni student drinking crack and rum because you could buy it as like a thing of four bottles in one go. When you gotta like, yeah. Oh, we're shitty bitches, chat. We're shitty bitches. Don't worry about it.
General's theory was that after the crew got drunk and murdered the entire family, they swam around to the front of the ship and cut it in order to make...
What even is that? No, it's a dark rum. So like there's like usually like two rums people refer to as. There's light rum and dark rum. Light rum you usually use in mixed drinks. Dark rum you kind of just drink on its own, or you can just like sip depending on which type. So that's kind of how, yeah. Like the rum that you have in like a mixed drink is usually like white rums or light rums, and then those are the ones that like when you want to get shitty, like a Bacardi, bitch. That's what you drink for that, and then like Kraken's more like a dark one. And you just whop, 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 whop.
People think that it ran aground in the middle of the ocean. However, that's lame. Wouldn't it be a lot cooler if a Kraken swam up there and it was latched onto the front and that's why the scratch marks are there? And then while everyone's on deck, it just starts grabbing people with these giant tentacles, and then a couple people try to get away by hopping on a lifeboat and cutting it real quick before they too get sucked underwater or float out to sea and die.
Yeah.
Whichever's worse. And you know the best part about that theory is you can't tell me I'm wrong because cameras didn't exist yet and neither did I. So we're moving on. I think one of the reasons that the...
I love him. He's great. He's like, you can't say shit. Oh, you want to tell me no? You ain't there. Cameras ain't there. You got a problem? Show me the evidence of otherwise. Oh, there ain't none? Then let me be.
Mary Celeste is such a well-known story and so infamous too among people like me who are absolutely terrified of the ocean is because it kind of embodies a lot of the things that make me afraid of it in the first place.
I'm gonna be so real with you, Shoddy. I did not know anything about this, but that's because I refused to look it up. I refuse to look up anything in relation to the ocean. So for me is that I used to like have a fishing license. I never got it renewed, but I used to have a fishing license. I used to go like out like fishing on like actual ships and stuff. It was really fun. But that's where my anxiety kind of started. It was like it's just you hear these stories while you're on there. You hear like there's so much shit that like your brain starts going like what the fuck. And I think that's what kind of created like the very like ingrained fear that it just completely got out of hand over time for me.
Place. It is absolutely unexplainable.
It's not that I'm scared of water. I'm scared of open water / the unknown. The unknown fucks with me, right? Like, if I were to know every single level and every single sea creature that exists, I think I would be a lot more comfortable. But the problem is that we don't even know, like, a fraction of what the ocean actually holds. It's so bad. So it's like we don't know shit, you know? And that's the biggest fear for me is that we don't know shit. So like if I would have comfort in knowing. And that's kind of like how I feel about everything in my life, bro. Everything in my life, I'm a little anxiety being who's scared all the time, but the moment you tell me with certainty of something, I feel satisfaction. Whether it be bad news or good news, I don't care. It's the uncertainty and the mystery of the unknown that freaks me the fuck out. All right, thank you.
And your imagination is pretty much the deciding factor in whatever could have happened to these people. Because just like with the ocean itself, if we're taking a scenario that is so beyond our minds of anything that we can know or understand, then our deepest fears might as well be the truth. And if you're thinking, well, that was in the 1800s and people just used to die back then, which, to be fair, people did just up and die for no reason back then, then allow me to turn your attention to the Kaz II. I'm going to call it Kaz, whatever. Now, the Kaz II was admittedly shorter than the Mary Celeste, boasting a 32-foot span.
Dude.
However, it was still a yacht-class vessel and definitely capable of sailing in the ocean. On April 15th in 2007, a 3-man crew decided to go out on a recreational expedition aboard the Kaz II. They set out from Queensland, Australia, and from everything that I've read of the family members of the people who were on the boat, it seems that they were just going to spend a few days going from different docks and sailing about at sea. That was until on April 18th, a helicopter spotted the boat and noticed that there didn't seem to be anyone on it. After some reports and investigations, eventually on April 20th, the boat was found and boarded about 88 miles off the coast of Australia. And similar to the Mary Celeste, whenever they got onto the boat, the entire crew was missing. Now, notably, the situation aboard the Kaz II was noticeably more unnerving. There was food laid out on plates along with silverware, implying that everyone was just about to sit down to eat. The laptop was open and still on, implying that someone had just been using it. Even the engine was running. Everything pointed towards the idea of everyone simply just hiding as if the boat was being used only moments ago. Furthermore, all the life jackets were still hung up and none of them being used. The GPS was still working along with all distress functions that the boat had, although none of them had been activated. Even more so, on the front of...
You know what? Someone keeps saying UFOs in chat. I'm not even going to deny you, and I'm not even going to be like, no, dude. Because you know what? It very well could be. We don't know what the fuck is happening. It could be anything. If you want to say it's UFOs, you do you, shoddy. Yep. That's like, it's like, right?
The boat. The small life raft as well as the anchor were still tied up and not being used, meaning that it seemed no one tried to stop the boat or make an escape. The one thing that was amiss on the boat is that one of the sails were very badly shredded, as if something had cut through them and torn them until they were useless. The police were able to use the GPS that was on the boat in order to backtrack the path that the Kaz II took. And then on the GPS path, you can see the boat go out from port on the first day of their journey, slow down all at once, and then just start drifting until it was eventually found.
What the
As if the boat was just sailing out, and then for some reason, the engine went into neutral, and those 3 guys just disappeared off the face of the earth. Besides from the sail, the only one thing that, doesn't really count as a miss was the fact that the lure from the fishing pole was hooked into one of the side ropes off the side of the ship, which also paints another picture of what was happening when this all went down. They were out fishing. There was a pair of sunglasses found sitting on one of the front chairs on the boat, and there was a coffee mug on the back deck just sitting on a table. Again, the whole picture implies that everyone was about to eat, they were out fishing, they were bathing in the sun, and then just disappeared. Now, unlike the Mary Celeste, this is a modern investigation, so there had to be a modern proceeding of how this all went out, because 3 people...
Insurance fraud, part 2! We're just like the 1800s, I'll tell you what. I'm just fucking with y'all, my
and
bad.
just disappear and then the government not do anything about it. So at the final investigation where they went into the whole story of what probably happened, the coroner's report, which it sounds weird for a coroner.
The Kraken's just doing the torture dance from JoJo's. Just like, fucking get it, bitch. You know what I mean? Just snapping its little tentacles. Right?
Coroner to give a report with no bodies, but I digress. In the coroner's report for what he proposes might have happened, it sounds like a slapstick comedy. Like, his story was that one of the guys got his hook stuck on that rope on the side that I mentioned earlier, and when he bends down to pick it up, he just falls in the water, to which the second guy says, "Don't worry, buddy, I'll come get you," and he jumps off the boat. But he forgot to turn the engine off, so the third guy puts the engine in neutral, and then he undoes the sail, but the sail swings all the way around the boat and smacks him and throws him off the side. So his
What in the Looney Tunes ass theory? What in the Looney Tunes ass theory? That actually happened? That's actually so good, though.
idea was in the span of 30 seconds, all three of them were so incompetent that they managed to like three stooge their way into the ocean.
That would
But
be
as far as
sick,
official
though.
reports go, that's all that we got. But despite that, as well as large-scale searches along the coast of Australia, no evidence of them was ever found. And what's so shocking about this in particular is you imagine that someone who's taken every precaution between
That's true. It is possible. RNG be crazy is it's a great first chat message. Yeah.
the GPS and the radio equipment and all of that would not have the capability to go missing in the modern world. However, that's exactly what happened. And this is a much more recent occurrence, and the families of those who were lost are still alive, so I am not going to make a joke that it was a Kraken, so I'm just going to move on. And you may be listening to all this and thinking,
Yeah, I appreciate that he's respectful about that. So that's a W, because yeah, if their families are still alive and stuff, and then you start doing kind of like theorizing shit, and you know, it can be disrespectful because how they mourn and how they grieve is important too. So I appreciate that about him. Good for him. Anyways, I just want to say that'll be part 1 of this video. There'll be a part 2 for sure. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe button, leave a comment down below to feed the algorithm gods. Also, check out Wendigoon's own channel. Subscribe, hit the like button over there. The link will be in the video description for this video on their channel. Thanks so much, and I hope you stick around for daily uploads here at Aliciaxdeath. We'll catch you later. Bye!